Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Sojka.
Hello, Richard.
What? Hello?
You look a little bit jet lagged.
I'm okay. I've been back now for a few days, so the world is catching up with me.
The world's catching up with you.
It is.
And you've just come back from, of course, TAM, the amazing meeting in Vegas.
Yes, not too long ago. I'm still getting over the shock of being back.
Yeah, your wallet's probably getting over the shock too, because did Vegas empty your wallet into all the casinos and poker machines and things?
A little bit.
I
think my total outlay in poker machines and gambling was about $5.
That's good. You controlled yourself. Because of course you know the odds.
I do.
You're a skeptic.
I do. Anyway, Stefan, welcome to the Skeptic Zone.
It's great to have you back, and it's such a shame that I wasn't at TAM, but it is wonderful to have you back and find out all about what happened.
I know, and a lot happened.
Oh, I know. I've seen some of the photos. It looks like a hoot.
By the way, this is episode number 197 for the 28th of July. 197.
197.
Wasn't it? Not long ago we were here doing episode 1.
That's ridiculous. 197.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Well, congratulations in 3 episodes' time.
3 episodes. We'll have to have a special cup of tea.
We will.
We'll sit down and have a nice cup of tea for 300.
Yeah, so what's going to happen for this episode? You must have a hell of a lot of stuff to that you drove back from Vegas.
As you know, I've got such a wealth, a mine, a gold mine
of interviews.
Of interviews courtesy of Maynard. And today, kicking off the show, is a wonderful interview Maynard did with George Hrab.
Oh, yes, he's a bit of a classic legend and a musician and a talent and all sorts of stuff.
Now, this is the highlight version of the interview. The interview went for nearly 2 hours.
Oh, goodness me.
2 hours. I've tried to pick the best bits out of it, but I think Maynard's probably got the plan somewhere along the track to release the whole 2 hours as a special or something like that. But we've
the edited version just to warm up and get started,
something like that. But what a wonderful interview it is! Just Maynard and Geo sitting down having a nice chat backstage at the amazing meeting.
Now, from what I hear, Maynard was an absolute dynamo over there. He just went nuts.
He did. He went nuts. Him and his gold jacket.
Perfect for Vegas.
I turned up at Penn Jillette, had a musical night and a big party with bacon and bagels and all sorts of things. Oh yeah, and he was on stage playing the bass, and there was a band. And I went in and had a look, and suddenly running past me in his gold jacket was Maynard having a great time.
Yes. Well, I suppose over the next probably however long, couple of years, we're going to be hearing his interviews.
Couple of years, I think, at this stage. Anyway, after Maynard's interview with George Hrab, I catch up with Michael Kruse from Canada, and he's going to tell us all about a project they've got going there called Bad Science Watch, reminding government and other people in Canada that there's a lot of dodgy science out there, especially when it comes to consumer matters, you see.
Yes. And vested interest in science, of course, because where they skew the results and things.
That can happen.
Yeah. Or is he talking more about like pseudoscience?
I think he's just talking about where science is used incorrectly. You know, the media do that a lot.
Yes, they do.
They're misquoting, getting the science wrong. Anyway, this very interesting project happening in Canada.
Excellent.
Michael Kruse will tell us all about that coming up. And then after that, it's Penny Chan.
Oh, yes, the old Penny for your thoughts.
Penny for your thoughts, live from the amazing meeting. She's going to be talking to Susan Gerbic. Susan has a project going where she's translating skeptical wiki pages.
Oh.
So if you go to a wiki page about the Skeptic Zone podcast, or maybe James Randi, or whatever the case may be, she's involved in a project getting people to translate those pages into lots and lots of different languages.
That's a very good idea, because I have a funny feeling that there are some... not languages, but some countries that maybe speak other languages that could do with a bit of more healthy skepticism.
Probably right.
Yes.
Probably right. So she's looking for anybody who speaks English and another language from anywhere around the world to get in touch. Details coming up in the interview, so you, no matter where you are listening in the world, you can help out in this project, especially if you speak another language.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to this episode because it's going to be just a taste, just an initial taste of this fabulous tam that you've just come back from.
And now we're all counting down for the next one.
Planning the next one already.
Not sure when it's going to be. That'll be tam 11. That's hard to believe. Tam 11. And that will be my seventh one, I think.
Jeez, you jet setter, you.
I think. I'd have to recount because there was Tam Australia, of course.
Oh, yeah,
and you were.
I was a Tam Australia, but it could be my first Tam at Vegas next year. We'll see how we go.
That will be pretty.
Working on it.
We might even have a think tank or a Skeptic Zone live. We'll just kick SGU, Skeptics Guide off the universe off the stage.
And do our own thing.
We'll do our own thing.
Well, let's get on with the show, shall we?
Let's do it.
All righty.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
So I love. You're great. You're really great. I love what you do. I love your vibe. Anybody that meets you, that knows you, it's just such a nice vibe and positive, and it's really great. I can say, that's Maynard, that's my friend. It's just, I really enjoy it. So, anything you need.
Yeah, because this is a little bit different. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm backstage in the bowels. In fact, I can smell decomposing food somewhere, I'm sure. I've got the tap bell now. As you noticed, in the interviews I've been using, only I have been able to use that, but George Hrab, you can use my exclamation bell if you want.
So this is purely for emphasis?
That's right. Yeah, it could be used for anything. I've used it for all sorts of stuff. I could have hepatitis B. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Right.
I usually do that when I go to the doctor. I bring a bell along just in case, yeah.
One of the things I enjoy about the Geologic podcast is you bring this world of the artist and his journey through the world with the skepticism, with everything that goes on. And every week I have listened to it, usually in the bath, oddly enough. I find I'm alone in the bath having listened to it on a Sunday afternoon, which is often the most horrible day of the week because you've got to go to work next day, and I often have to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. to go to work and have a 2.5 hour commute.
What is your favourite day of the week?
Thursday, because
totally right.
Thursday
potential.
Thursday, yeah, because I don't work Fridays, so my Thursday afternoon is other people's Fridays, and I drive for 2.5 hours to where I live in Sydney, and I just get there and I'm home. Everything's great. Everything's the way it was. Sometimes I haven't been back for a couple of days. I've been sleeping on my parents' couch, and I'm just feeling fantastic when I get in that flat and I go, what am I going to do here? Am I going to go and have a drink? Am I going to go see a girl? What am I going to do? And that is my favourite day because there's 3 days of possibilities ahead and I have no idea.
Again, getting back to Schrödinger, it's like this quantum weekend that you haven't done it yet. And you have an ocean of options, and that is the most sort of attractive. It's like when the meal first arrives, before the bite, that's the best part, or even the ordering of it on some level of saying, this is what we're going to have. I've literally come close to ordering food and then not eating it. Just because, like, the thrill, it's all downhill from here. I know I've never done it, but I've thought about it in terms of a health issue,
Look, sometimes Japanese food is like that because it is so beautifully and so well prepared. You don't want to muck that up by putting it in your stomach and then pooping it out, really.
Right. Who wants to ruin these art pieces of sashimi or whatever, yeah.
And with your own podcast, Stephen Fry has written about this and talked about it, and thou shalt not contradict Stephen Fry, as the song goes. He said that you've got to be careful having your own opinion page or podcast and fall into the trap of thinking that your opinion weighs more than other people's. Is that something you're aware of sometimes?
Oh, completely. I would hope that whenever I do give an opinion, it's always with a caveat of like, this is what I think. It could be right, could be wrong. This is what works for me. This is what I enjoy. If I'm talking about how awful, a film is or an album is or some experience was.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Prometheus Ride Out, between you and the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, there's their stuff over the other side of the room there. I'm never going to go see that film now.
Well, you have to see it, but you have to spend as little money as possible on it. So whether it comes on TV or whatever rental system you guys have, I don't know how you rent with kangaroos or whatever system of barter you guys have, I'm not sure. But see it and do the Mystery Science Theater thing where you just sort of yell at the screen while it's happening. Because if you look at it as this bizarre performance piece of of bad science. It's actually quite enjoyable. But going into it with the expectations I had of it being, I don't know, a Ridley Scott film, then it's an abortion of an abortion.
Oh. Before we get on this too, you've actually done your own TV pilot recently, and you didn't want to jinx it by talking about it on your podcast. So can you say anything about it at all at the moment?
Yeah, and it wasn't not jinxing it. When you form that sentence that I'm working on my pilot, or we're filming a pilot, you just every corpuscle of just embarrassment kind of tightens, because everyone claims that, everyone says that, everyone has an idea for a show. And I would love to just sort of have a product that, this is where it is. This is done, this has happened, or it hasn't happened, or whatever. This was the experience that I had.
And so, George, can I give you a little bit of advice now? Sure. I've been involved in 100 or so pilots in my life. I've also been involved in a pilot that got me a national breakfast show on the radio. I've also been involved in a pilot that got me my own national complete creative control television show on an MTV-type network. So, yes, sometimes they do happen. And when they do happen, you think you're going to be jumping around like joy, but it's so surreal you can't believe it. When they said to me, would you like to host a Triple J breakfast show? I actually said to them, I'll have to think about it. Right. And I started to leave the room, and I thought, what are you doing? They just wanted to ask, would you like to host the national? And I said, no, of course, when do you want me to start? Exactly. So it is such a surreal moment. So the pain you have in all this, worrying about it, when you actually get it, you don't get the opposite, unfortunately. But when you get it, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, to me, being here at TAM is a level of that very surreal. Are you sure you want me to do this? You're all okay with this? Has been voted on by someone? I mean, there's no blackmail involved. This is okay.
I'm not being punked.
Right. I'm waiting for Ashton to pop out from behind James Randi's beard at some point. So I constantly have that, which I think on a certain level is healthy, and on another level it's not healthy. I mean, a lot of my family and friends often sort of say, look, you have a skill set, you are there for a reason, you obviously are okay at it, accept it, go with it. The humility thing is good, but there's a point where it can kind of start to weigh you down. I would much rather err in that direction than in the other of, this is owed to me, or why am I not A, B, and C?
There's also the worry about you maybe develop false humility accidentally, because you just really and then you're asking people.
It doesn't come across. Exactly. It's stop it already. I know, yeah. I mean, it's a perfect example. During the SGU, the Skeptics Guide show today, Steve Novella had this idea of, we want you to be a guest on the show, but let's do a thing where you kind of keep interrupting us and you want to sort of sneak into the show, and we keep saying no, until finally you actually invade one of the video pieces that we've done, where it seems that we've pre-filmed this with Dr. Raichi of all people, and you're wanting to sneak into the show is so great you can actually traverse space and time and video, and a great idea, funny bit, and my concern was that is my constant state of mind, that I worry I'm coming across that way. And I said, Steve, you've really mined into something which is very sort of deep within me.
So you're worried that people go, he's such a try-hard.
Yeah, exactly. Here he goes again. Okay, we got it. You don't have enough stage time? What's it? Guitar? You brought a guitar? George Hrab brought a guitar somewhere. Oh, great. Wow, what are the odds of that? Which to me is just this terror idea of look at me. I don't want to come across that way. So I said, Steve, this is going to, and he said, he couldn't fathom that was a concern of mine. As did no one else on the show was just what are you talking about? Stop it.
I think this is somewhere where what you do intersects with the world of the skeptics, where arts intersects with sciences to a certain extent, because someone who'd done a PhD wouldn't really be all that reticent about telling people at a conference what they did, really, would they?
It's interesting.
About the pilot, I was so interested in hearing about it, and can you tell us much about it? Was it Strange Roads? Was that the name of it?
The name of the show, the potential name is Strange Roads, and it's this sort of it's morphed over time. I mean, initially I was contacted because I was local and looked interesting. A producer out of New York wanted a skeptic to balance out a show he was putting together.
And see, that's how random it is, people, too. Look, anyone who knows George and likes his work, say, of course he'd be the guy. But not everyone knows George's work. And there's one item in your life in the Venn diagram is intersected with the producer, and that's how your name got in front of him.
Right. So you throw, as many potential targets out, whether it's doing 250 podcasts or appearing on other programs or doing articles or blog posts or doing pictures, photos, whatever, and you sort of make a large wall that can be hit by the spitball of this random producer looking for, certain age, certain disposition, certain look, and skeptic background. Okay. Everyone he sort of found or said that he would find seemed boring or seemed older or whatever, for his needs, for what he was looking for. So it was a random phone call. We met, and I guess he seemed to think I was good on camera. I felt comfortable on camera, which is another weird psychological thing, that I'm more comfortable, on stage and on camera once it's rolling than I am in the rest of my life. Which is, again, that sort of center of attention. Okay, I'm supposed to be the center of attention when I'm on stage so I can relax and do the thing that I want to do, as opposed to, am I overstepping my bounds at this party by having my guitar with me,
I understand that, and I'll try and get that into factor for someone who maybe hasn't been in front of the camera or been on stage, because it's a hard one to explain if you haven't done it regularly.
It's strange.
And how did Strange Roads go? Hey, that was a great seg there. 2 points. How did it go? How did it feel for you? Can you say too much about
it? From that initial thing of just getting in touch with me and being a skeptic amongst a larger cast, it got winnowed down to just me, which was going to be an adventure show where I kind of go around and look at, UFO conventions and, the opposite of what TAM is. So, shiatsu conventions and sort of talk about stuff and be skeptical about it. It went from being that to, what if we had, it's more like a desk show. So it's more like Bill Maher, more like Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart meets skepticism is the idea. Half hour, 60 minutes, we're not sure of the format, but people come in, monologue, we show a video piece of me going to whatever UFO convention, and then we bring on a person who believes in UFOs, and I talk to them. We have a little bit of a debate. We bring up an astrophysicist who talks about the unlikelihood of there being UFOs, and then we all sort of chat and wrap it up. My whole thing was to make it approachable and heated, but not confrontational.
Look, this is what we were trying to do with the Dirty Disbeliever show too, because you want to bring in both sides, you want to be respectful to both sides, and you want people to come away from the show understanding both sides and making their decision from what was presented to them.
Right, while never backing down and being wishy-washy. So that if I don't agree with something or think someone is being, unfair or unrealistic or is being untruthful, there's a comfort in saying, well, that's not how that works. That's not how that concept works that you're describing. But still having it be as if you're at a cocktail party where you wouldn't, point your finger in someone's face and you wouldn't be a lousy host or a lousy guest in someone's house. The nicest thing that happened over the taping, so this ended up being the pilot was sort of this first attempt at doing the desk show, the Jon Stewart type show. Half the audience were skeptics, half were believers, which was the producers did on purpose to sort of just see what the vibe was like. And my opening monologue was about atheism, and you could feel half the crowd sort of folded their hands, across their chest, and sort of were like, okay. But slowly, I think throughout the course of the program, the taping, I kind of not won them over, but showed that we can have a huge disagreement on that level, but we can still completely have a conversation. And by the end of the show, everybody was laughing. All who left the taping had a positive experience, said they would want to sort of talk to me some more, were curious to get my opinion on A, B, C, and D. That's the other fascinating thing, is that someone who believes in the craziest of things is a 100% skeptic on something else. A 100% atheist on something else, whatever that other thing is, and will say, I can't believe people believe in X. I believe in Y, and I will defend Y, and I'll go X and Y are both batty. I don't understand how you do either. I love that part, and I want to mine that part of everyone's brain that says, astrology is nuts, but I'm Catholic. You know what I mean? Like that, but obviously water to wine and walking on, resurrected. Sure, okay.
Transubstantiation, of course that's real.
Of course. We're all one. Atheists are just one extra god away from. I believe in one less god. That's the cliched thing than any believer does. Because most people of faith don't believe in Zeus or don't believe in Mithras or don't believe in Thor. And yet they'll believe in whatever they do. So the vast majority of the options available, they don't believe in. Take that final little step, and that to me is interesting, and to be able to show that to people and have it sort of reflect and say, you don't believe all these things, why don't you believe all those things? What are the ideas, or what's the rationale for not believing in astrology, blah, 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 blah. Now, can you point that back at the things you do believe in? Is it possible? I think that's so curious and interesting and much better than you're an idiot, or that stuff you believe is bullshit and you're stupid for believing it, or I don't even want to talk to you, whatever. I think it's just, to me personally, a more interesting conversation. And the guests I had, we had a channeler, and we had a person that does, runs websites for all kinds of just complete woo stuff. And they said they were very comfortable and they really appreciated that the environment was one where they would come back. They would tell their friends who were full of woo that this was a nice environment. It was an interesting conversation. We're not going to convince each other in that moment. We're not going to convince each other either way. But that it was a pleasant setting, and that to me that was a success. So if nothing else comes of it, like just to show that one channeler that I'm a skeptic, hardcore science logic guy, but I'm not surly. I'm not, I'm approachable, hopefully approachable, and somewhat pleasant and hospitable.
And George, on a personal level, because I've taken a lot of your time here, and I really appreciate it. You've been working hard enough here without having some guy in a badly fitted suit and a William Shatner tie.
Oh, that deserves that. Yes,
that's pretty damn good there. Yeah, coming along and wasting more of your time there. I mean, you got more drunks to talk to at the bar. So this show might happen. The TV show might happen within a 6-month time frame. Would you like to take the podcasting to another level? In fact, I don't know why a radio station hasn't snapped you up. Now, I know that would limit your touring, but and you would be doing things on their terms to a certain extent. But a half-hour national syndicated radio show would certainly not be within the reach of... Yeah, so why hasn't this happened? To me, it seems odd. I mean, I'm in a land where there's middlemen that will sell anybody to anything. Why can't someone new sell someone to someone?
Maybe that's what'll happen after this.
I mean, the success of 2.5 Men, really. I
know. I'm not sure, and it's a weird wish, that Chinese saying of be careful what you wish for because it might come true. My dad keeps telling me this and putting it to me, and he used the example of Dave Chappelle. I don't know if you're familiar with
yes,
the American comic.
A very intense comedy show, and I think it sort of got too much for him, and he blew out in the second season, didn't he, or something?
He never even he filmed some interstitial bits for the second season. Was, in essence, once you count sort of all the ancillary money, offered the equivalent of $50 million to work, and he walked away because he realized that he wasn't doing what he wanted to. He was going to be responsible when someone gives you a check for $50 million. That doesn't come without a phone book's worth of responsibilities and caveats and reasons and all kinds of things. And he said, I'm walking away. And my dad has told me, he's like, you're not famous. You're not, nationally successful. You're not successful on a large scale. You have a very small, very loyal, but very small following. But you are doing exactly what you want to do. My records, my albums sound exactly the way I want them to. The podcast sounds exactly the way it is. It's the length I want it to be. If I want to do it for a week, I can do it. If I want to do a 2-hour show, if I want to do an entire show that's just Dark Side of the Moon on piano, I can do it.
And again, I'll just break into you briefly because many people don't get the chance to do that in their life as the same as not get up on stage. I've had a brief chance while here at TAM, thanks to the people that have put in to listen to Skeptic Zone, to come here and report on this for people. I've spoken to Adam Curry, who works on the No Agenda show, which could be far away from what many skeptics would consider a point of view. Him and John C. Dvorak wake up in the morning and their rent is paid by the people who deliberately give their money to their podcast. And you are living a life because of what you do, and it's paid for by others that like what you do. How can you describe to anyone who doesn't do that how that feels?
It's to me, that is the ultimate success. Because ultimately, any kind of national success, TV success, radio success, record sales success is transitional because you can never be at the. I mean, no one is at the top. I mean, even the Rolling Stones who've been doing it for 50 years. How many of them are there? There's them. I mean, that's it. They can still do a tour that will net them $200 million, whatever it is. So odds are, even if you are hugely successful, that will end. Now, what are you willing to pay for that? Have you sold? I don't believe in selling out. I don't think that exists. I mean, I think if there was a formula, it would be mined to its death. You know, if there was a way to sell out. Selling out, I think, is coincidental, and everyone on some level is trying to sell out. To me, to be able to do exactly what I want to do, and not have to worry that I've modified my artistic endeavors.
And you can live in an okay place, and you can pay for food.
Absolutely. And I can have a show that I'll record that, or an album that I'll record that 2 years later, 5 years later, someone will approach to me, a stranger will approach to me, in Vegas, and say, episode 90 from 4 years ago, you did this sketch that was I thought it was so funny. Or you did a show about losing your friend, and the grief you went through, and that helped me get through something that I went through. It's priceless. It's priceless, and I have to remind myself of that sometimes because it's very insular. I mean, you sit and you record. You sit with a microphone on your own, and a lot of the feedback doesn't come instantly or doesn't even come eventually.
Interestingly enough, but the way podcasts are listened to, sometimes in the car, but it's normally a one-on-one basis, which is why you tend to get people thinking they own you more because you're talking directly to them into those earbuds. There's a slightly different dynamic even from radio, broadcast radio.
Absolutely. I call it a one-way friendship that I'm fine with because if someone is listening to my show, whatever, 45 minutes a week, an hour a week, they have decided that is what they're putting into the friendship. Even though I don't know them, I can't hear what they're saying back to the show. Yeah.
Well, for example, I've met you twice. This is the second time I met you. I met you at TAM Australia. And I feel I know you quite well through listening to the podcast and from a couple of emails back and forth and a Skype conversation over a 2-year period.
Yeah, I just brought that up last night when I started coming in. I said, there's a perfect example of how tremendous this community is, number one, or events like TAM are, or how wonderful, the virtual world can be. That, we met 2 years ago for 5 hours, 8 hours total, maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's being generous in terms of the time we spent together. 1 hour Skype conversation. Yeah. I know, and yet when we saw each other, big bear hug, it was great. It was like, wow, here we go. And we continue, we pick up where we stopped and we continue. Not that I want this to happen, but 5 years could go by, and I think if we didn't see each other with the occasional email and listening to the show, and
we'd have a rough idea where things were.
Absolutely, we'd see each other and continue the conversation. I love that. My best friend, Slough, since I do the show and he listens to it very generously, doesn't call me as often because he knows what I'm up to. So it's not that he's not interested or doesn't want to communicate. He has this sort of peephole on my life and knows what I'm up to. So I'll call him and and I'll say, oh yeah, and then I got to go to the museum. Yeah, I know. I heard of the show.
And also, a lot of people haven't quite get the knack yet of Facebook being their world that they want to present. Most people present everything on it like it's an online diary. Remember you used to go to a girl's place when you were younger and you'd be sitting in a bedroom and she'd get a book of poetry out from under the bed and you'd have to listen to that poetry for various reasons that I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, listeners. And now that happens online now with Facebook or with blogs and things. And people just overshare where people haven't quite got worked out what to share and what not to share. Do you think that's an artist that maybe people that perform like us kind of understand that you're creating a reality on Facebook that isn't supposed to be a reality where people who don't perform think that, oh yeah, I've got to tell everything on there because that's what it is.
Yeah, the editor is sometimes the most important part of any artist. If not the most important part. And that whatever that art is, I mean, I talk about doing exactly the show I want to do. I mean, exactly the show I want to do would be just talking about Frank Zappa for 5 hours every show. Now, that would be great. Or talking about Yes, or talking about, whatever. Totally, yeah. And then I get to come here and I get to introduce James Randi, or I get to talk with Penn, or I get to talk to, Carol Tavris and see her do this amazing talk. Afterwards say, That was wonderful. That was exactly what a TAM talk needs to be. And she would go, really? Are you sure? And she's relying on my editor, my sense of what an hour-long talk at TAM can be, to say, no, you knocked it out of the park. That's exactly what we need. Huzzah! It was wonderful. surreal. It's just surreal moment after surreal moment.
Now, look, and I should finish now. And look, I'd like you to speak directly to the people that have put in to send me here, and just have a brief chat about what you think of the Australian Skeptic movement, the Skeptic Zone, that kind of thing, in a nutshell. Because they paid to get me here, and could you let them know that I have been working hard?
Maynard has been with a microphone grafted to his arm the entire time I've seen him. Yeah, working very, very hard.
This is actually interview number 71.
Okay, we're I guess just at the halfway point. So we are 71 interviews in. So there's going to be about 150 of these for you fine folks. I with an absolute dingo-eaten sense of joy revel in the fact that the number 2 country of my downloads is Australia. It's the U.S., Australia, and then England, which obviously for language purposes makes sense. But the fact that you guys beat out Great Britain, I just love it. I love it. I have the most fond, beautiful memories of my time in Australia. The conference in Sydney itself, and then going to Melbourne and Canberra and Cairns and Adelaide, and as well as hopping over to New Zealand and doing 2 cities over there. Wonderful people, wonderful time, so enthusiastic, and the kind of people that would collect money to send a loony like you over here. How can I not love that? How can you not respect that?
And what difference do we have in skepticism to the American way? I've asked a lot of the Americans, in what way is our approach different, or the way we look at things? Can you put that into words?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a great question. Is it? Oh boy, a joie de vivre maybe that American skepticism doesn't have. I think it's less nerdy,
but is more there certain larrikinism, certain sense of humor that we have.
I think so. I think there's a vibrancy and a joy. I think there, and I hope that's not insulting, and I mean that with just complete fondness. That there is a certain excitement of. There are other people on the planet that feel this way too, which we have as a movement, but I think you guys really have that, and that was that feeling in Sydney of walking in, and hearing that first round of applause for Randy when the 680 people that were there just were through applause saying, "Thank you for coming, thank you for flying the 14 hours, you 80-year-old man, you." It was overwhelming, the sense of appreciation, and I think that kind of registers not only to the sense of appreciation of individuals, but to the sense of the appreciation of the facts, the sense of appreciation of how you can be skeptical and how things actually work. So I think you guys all sort of share that, and that's very inspiring. Very inspiring.
Look, I should let you go. You need to have a good rest after the hard day you've had. And thank you for being a great host at TAM here. And we'd love to see you in our country again sometime, and maybe we'll even make it back here next year.
Awesome. I have to come back because I feel like I only saw a skosh of a touch.
Ooh, yeah. Thank you. And where can people find you and look for you?
If you would be interested in the geologic universe, you can just go to GeorgeHrab.com. H-R-A-B is the way you spell my last name. If you just Google that, the first 146,000 things are me. So it's a unique enough thing. But from there, you can get my podcast, iTunes, all my albums, the little book that I wrote, and all kinds of YouTube stuff and whatever. So
and the other George Hrab after that is a conveyancing lawyer from Detroit, and he's really pissed off.
Carpet cleaner, and he keeps trying to get his web hits, and it's just not happening. Just not happening.
Astronomy Cast takes a facts-based journey through the cosmos as it offers listeners weekly discussions on astronomical topics ranging from planets to cosmology. Hosted by Fraser Kane of Universe Today and myself, Dr. Pamela Gay of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, this show brings the questions of an avid astronomy lover directly to an astronomer. Together, Fraser and I explore what is known and being discovered about the universe around us. Join us each week as we take a facts-based journey through the cosmos at astronomycast.com.
On August 11th, Saturday, August 11th, In Canberra, in the Australian Capital Territory, the Canberra Skeptics are hosting a lecture challenging pseudoscience in the most scientific of all ages. This is a talk by Professor John Dwyer, a good friend of the skeptical movement and one of the members of Friends of Science and Medicine. Now, this is a free talk, a free event, and it's going to be held at the CSIRO Discovery Centre, Clooney's Ross Street in Acton in the ACT. For more information about this interesting talk, visit www.canberraskeptics.org.au. Anybody in the area, I can certainly recommend going along to hear Professor John Dwyer. Another great day here at TAM, and I've found Michael Kruse from, what an interesting website you have, Bad Science Watch. What's that all about?
Well, in Canada, we've got a new activist group that we've launched in response to what we felt was a lack of opposition to the rising belief in alternative medicine, in products and services that have dubious scientific claims behind them. And we felt that in order to really properly address these, we had to develop a new national nonprofit that would actively act in opposition to this and get good science into public policy.
Wow.
Yes, it's a big goal.
Yes, that's quite a mouthful. That's amazing. And how long has this been going again?
Well, we started last fall, and we've been developing it over about 6 months. Apparently, it's a lot of work to start your own nonprofit, which we didn't realize.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
It's surprising, isn't it? So we've been working, and of course, all of us are professionals in our day job, so none of us have a lot of time to spend on a daily basis. So it's been taking a bit of a long slog to go through the whole process, but we finally launched last Monday, which was July the 6th, I believe. And we are really excited about what we're going to be tackling. It's taken us a while to sort of get the language right, too, because we're really, really focused on proper communication. And we're trying to get outside of the normal sort of skeptical community to reach the broader community to sort of use science advocacy as a means of communicating good science and of getting people used to the idea or supportive of the idea that there are people offering really, really dubious products and services, and that it really is a consumer protection issue, that it really kind of endangers people's lives, prosperity, their well-being.
It sure can, yeah.
And that message, I think, is going to be our in, as it were, to really sell the idea of good science to the public.
Okay. Where in Canada are you based, personally?
Well, I'm based in Toronto. We've got a board of directors that is based out of Vancouver and Toronto. We've got members of our steering committee in Winnipeg and Edmonton. So it really is a national organization.
You're quite spread out, yeah.
Yeah, it makes it a challenge to communicate, right? We've got like 4 different time zones across Canada. So, you know, it tends to be a bit of a struggle to get everybody together in the same spot. But thanks to the internet...
Have you got more time zones than the United States?
We have...
I thought there were only 3 here. Maybe I've got that wrong.
We've got Newfoundland as well, right? So we've got the...
I might have it wrong.
Eastern Mountain and Pacific, I believe, and then we've got Newfoundland, which is another half an hour east. So they get kind of left out of the thing. But and we always say as well that we've got people in Toronto, Edmonton, and Vancouver. If we added somebody from Halifax, it would be really, really difficult to get that kind of 4-hour span in. But because of the internet and because of the virtual nature or the tools that exist online, we're really able to communicate, and we don't need a physical office right now. We're able to really do most of our work through Skype and through other kind of web.
Well, that's more and more. I'm finding that too, of course. Just recently I've been involved in organising things, helping out the James Randi people, and that's all emails and Skypes when we can and things like that. So it's better, of course, if you can all be the same place at the same time, but these days it's not always possible.
No, it doesn't. One thing that the skeptical community has been really successful at is web-based activism.
Yeah.
Petitions, writing emails, even online conferences and chat rooms and things like that. What we're trying to do is get people outside of the computer to engage in more traditional activism, to sort of raise the bar, as it will, in skeptical activism in Canada. And this has been a bit of a challenge. We perceive it as going to be our biggest kind of hurdle to get people to work outside of their computers, to write letters, to actually show up and lobby their local politicians, to actually call them on the phone, which is something that a lot of people do. But I think with the proper systems in place and proper motivation and the proper organization and sort of professional demeanor, that we can really inspire people to get involved and to make real change. One of the things I was really struck by this morning at Jamie Ian Swiss's talk was about this idea of not blaming the victim.
I thought that was a good point.
As a central tenet of our purpose is compassion.
Yes.
And to ensure that the targets of our activism are the regulators and the purveyors of these products. And very specifically in Canada, especially the Consumer Protection Branch, which regulates claims that you can make in print and the newspaper and any business, and as well as Health Canada, which is the regulatory agency. And those two agencies under the federal government are going to be a real long-term focus for us, to keep them honest, to keep them well-funded, and to keep them science-based, because that's a real concern for us in Canada. It's a real issue.
There's the word, folks. All the listeners in Canada, or if you know somebody, friends and family in Canada, put them this way, put them onto the website, and that website is, again, the web URL?
Sure. We're located at badsciencewatch.ca, and please go there and click the donate button if you can. We have a 30-day campaign going on right now to raise our first year of operating funds, and we really need your help to help Canadians live a prosperous life.
Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's been a pleasure.
The Canadian public has been poorly served by a government which displays little respect for objectivity and science. Canadians are taken advantage of through weak consumer protection regulations that allow the sale of products and services that don't work. And our media is all too willing to report dubious claims without examination if it will attract readers and sell advertising. Individual freedom of choice is being jeopardized as the unscrupulous or misinformed attempt to influence our important decisions. It's time for a change. Bad Science Watch is a new activist organization that will challenge the media, advertisers, and politicians when they promote unsound science that can threaten the well-being of Canadians. We will provide analysis of dubious scientific claims to you, our government, and the media, and campaign for policy decisions based on the best evidence available. We will take action to pressure politicians to enforce and strengthen consumer protection regulation. We will stand against the exploitation of you and your family by the peddlers of bad science. You can help us. Donate or pledge to support our campaigns and research efforts. Join our mailing list to receive action alerts and help effect real change. Tell your friends about us. Find out more at badsciencewatch.ca. Bad Science Watch. Important issues. Sound science. Real change.
Here's Penny Chan with a penny for your thoughts.
This is Penny Chan with a penny for your thoughts, and I am here in Las Vegas at the Amazing Meeting 2012, also called TAMX. I guess that's what we're calling it. Today I'm going to interview Susan Gerbic. She's one of the busiest people in the skeptical movement, in my opinion. Photographer is the first thing that comes up to mind, because she always has a camera in her hands, always snapping away at every moment, which is good, Because it means there's a photographic record of everything that goes on at any event that you go to. Right. Blogger, IIG member, amazing person, honey badger. What I mostly associate with you is guerrilla skepticism on Wikipedia. I first learned about that at Skeptical last year. Okay. But how long has this been going on, Susan?
I've been editing Wikipedia. I'm totally self-taught. I've been doing it a little over a year as a project with the blog and so on. A little before TAM 9. So I have only been editing Wikipedia about 18 months. Totally never done it before in my life. Yeah. Don't know anything about computers.
What sparked your interest in editing Wikipedia?
Tim Farley gave a talk on one of the cruises. I have been to so many lectures, conferences, and so on that, after there's a point in time where you're tired of lecturing, listening to lectures, and you just have to go out and do something. You reach a saturation point where the lectures are fascinating, the people are amazing, but it's my turn now, and I need to step up and do something. So Tim Farley talked about editing Wikipedia, and I thought, I think I took a picture of Brian Dunning on the cruise, and I went to his Wikipedia page. I uploaded the picture to his Wikipedia page, and I was hooked.
Your one of your missions, it would seem, is to make sure that there is a photo of each notable skeptic of their face for their Wikipedia pages, because there are lots of notable people on Wikipedia that have no face, it would appear, but all the skeptics do, and I think it's because of you. I remember you're so fast with it too. It's like oh, she just took this picture 3 hours ago, and now it's up, and it's a great thing. Right. I love that. What have you edited notably that you can think of?
Picture-wise, or
just an article?
Oh, gosh, I've done just about everything. The idea is you really want to spread yourself around. If it has anything to do with skepticism, science, my favorite area is psychics, and psychics are, we call them grief vampires, and the notorious ones, not the little ladies at the corner shop, but we really have to make sure that their pages are in very good shape, not only adding skeptical articles onto the page, but also making sure all the garbage is out of the page. As far as pictures go, and you raise a really good subject. The project that you're talking about is We Got Your Wiki Back, and we're trying to make sure that all skeptics that are notable, in other words, they're in the news, they're getting media attention, that when America, the rest of the world, wherever, is Googling that person's name, which they're going to do, they're going to end up on a page and they're going to be reputable. It looks like they're being cared for. People appreciate them. They're notable in our community. Because if we don't have their backs, nobody has their backs. They don't look credible. And it's just a shame. So I like to put up more than one picture. I am a photographer by trade. I am a baby photographer. That's why I'm so quick. And anyway, so getting the pictures up, I like to put up several pictures, maybe a portrait picture and also at a podium, showing aspects of their life that are not necessarily skeptic related. In the case of your father, if I can mention him, he is a table tennis expert. He's also on Survivor. He's also a noted skeptic of quite fame. He has many pictures on his page, one of them of which is from Skeptical that you mentioned earlier, and he's holding the J-Ref Pegasus.
Oh, yes.
So it's one way of making somebody who's into table tennis and Survivor who would be coming to his page would see the Pegasus pig with the J-Ref tag and the Skeptical tag, and then all of a sudden people who maybe have never heard of skepticism are going, what's this? And they click on the link and they have a new window to skepticism that they never even thought existed. Yeah. And we're going from a table tennis and Survivor. Who would think?
Yeah, so this latest project that I just found out about is a foreign language Wikipedia project. Can you tell me more about that?
Right. What we're doing, and we're just launching it now, is I'm always looking for people who will help out with the project in any language, with any skill level. Even if you don't think you can contribute, I can find a way for you to contribute. There's zillions of things we can have for you to do. But this project, we're calling it, let's start with Jerry. We're taking I am currently rewriting the Jerry Andrus, one of the founders of the modern skeptical movement, and optical illusion. He invented optical illusions, amazing person who passed away in 2007. I'm rewriting his Wikipedia page, and it dawned on me that if we rewrite his Wikipedia page in every language possible, We'll be spreading skepticism. This was because optical illusions are an incredible way of explaining skepticism and science. And from that, once his page is written in every language we can think of, Swahili, Swedish, Czechoslovakian, everything you can think of. Klingon. Well, that's not on Wikipedia, but I bet if Wikipedia had Klingon, we would be there.
Yeah.
We will be able to use it like a tree and branch off of that one page all the different topics, cold reading, spoon bending, Uri Geller, all the different topics, just branch off of it, and we can take over the world knowledge base and bring skepticism to everywhere, every time, in every language.
That is just so amazing. I would never have thought of that, but now that you've said it, it's like it's so obvious, like because it seems to be a very English language centric movement. That's not to say there aren't skeptics in other non-English speaking countries. There are, but they need to be empowered. They need to know that there's a whole group of people supportive of skepticism.
Right.
So I noticed that you were actually looking for translators here at TAM.
Yes.
About how many have you got so far?
Gosh, I just got a couple mentions, and I was surrounded, maybe 30 people in millions of, well, it feels like millions of languages, but I was absolutely overrun, and I need way more than just that.
Yeah, I noticed you've got a lot of the main world languages. I saw German in there. I saw Spanish.
Turkish.
Oh, Turkish! Wow.
Yeah, Swahili is next. And, even if I have 5 German editors that want to help out, I need probably 15 or 20 more than that. So even if a listener says, oh, well, she's probably already got to get 10 French speakers, I need probably 10 to 50 more.
Yeah.
So the project is going to be that massive that if this is pulled off correctly, which we're hoping will go well, we need tons of editors and tons of languages. So please, you can help out easily.
If you know another language,
Yeah.
contact Susan. And Susan, where can our listeners contact you if they want to?
Just come right to my email, which is Susan Gerbic, and that's spelled Gerbic, at yahoo.com. And I do have a blog. You can easily Google that on, it's called Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia. It's very easy to find. I'm everywhere, Susan Gerbic at yahoo.com.
Thank you very much. Tell me about what you guys did yesterday.
Oh, this was such a blast. The reason why I'm involved in the independent investigations group is that I really want to do things. And instead of just talking and listening to lectures and so on, as I said. So what we did is we're at the amazing meeting, and Sylvia Browne is just down the street, and we took some of Ben Radford's banners that say convicted felon Sylvia Browne, and we went, about 13 of us, and it was not necessarily an IIG project, but it was headed by almost everybody in IIG, and Mark Edward was the one who organized everything, and we went to Sylvia Browne's venue and handed out flyers and talked to the people going into the shows, and it was amazing. The thing that we learned was that most people walking by had never heard of Sylvia Browne. And that was an amazing thing.
Wow.
Because we're so immersed in the skeptical movement, we think everybody knows Sylvia Browne. But just in our little survey of people walking by, most people had never heard of her. So it was pretty cool.
Interesting. Well, it was still good that you guys did that.
It's a lot of fun. Anybody can do it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for talking with me today. And so good luck with the project. I hope you get as many translators as you can.
Anybody can help. Anybody, any language, even if they only speak English, please come contact us.
The Skeptic Magazine, the journal from Australian skeptics. Subscribe online to the world's second oldest skeptical magazine. Visit www.skeptics.com.au and click the publications link. You can also find there over 30 years of back issues free to download. The Skeptic, the magazine from Australian skeptics.
Richard, That was an incredible second show back from Tam.
Yeah, I still like last week's episode, of course, because Maynard spoke to James Randi. That was a great interview.
Yes, of course.
And now we just heard Maynard speak to George Hrab, and in the coming weeks, Maynard speaks to, I think, everybody who was there.
Yeah, I think he spoke to every single person in Las Vegas.
I think he did.
Did he get married while he was there by Elvis or anything like that?
He did, and divorced again, I think. Just in one day you can do that in Las Vegas.
I hope he didn't relive that movie, The Hangover, while he was there.
Maybe he did. Maybe that's why I only saw him every now and then.
That's right. All tigers and crazy people.
Actually, come to think of it, when I was there, I went to another casino just sightseeing, and it's the only time I walked by a chapel. Mm. And it didn't occur to me. Of course, people come to Las Vegas to get married by Elvis.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more and more and more about what happened over there. Hey, when's the next TAM Australia? Is that happening? Or?
Well, we don't know when the next TAM Australia is going to be. That's a huge undertaking. But we've got sort of the next best thing at the end of the year. We've got the Australian Skeptics National Convention with James Randi.
Oh, so that's almost as good as a TAM.
Almost as good as a TAM. James Randi, DJ Gofi, Rebecca Watson, lots of other people. Me.
Yeah. And we want to invite a few people from overseas as well. They can come. They're invited.
Everybody's welcome to come. If you want to buy a ticket and an airfare, you can come along. Check out www.skeptics.com.au. Seats are filling up fast because, James Randi will be there. This is your chance to meet James Randi in Australia. End of November in Melbourne.
In Melbourne?
Yeah.
Melbourne is a lovely city.
It is.
It is. Come on down.
That time of the year is really nice at Melbourne.
Beautiful weather.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's actually not raining for a change.
And they've got, and despite what you think, Melbourne people, you've got public transport, and it works really well compared to Sydney.
Yeah. All right, well, that sounds great. Well, I guess we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, I'm going to go home now and have a good lie down.
Yeah,
think about plane travels and
It takes a while, doesn't it, to get over it?
It does.
Yeah,
it does. And I was just showing you a photograph when I finally left the United States. This time it was via Los Angeles, and I was in a lounge, hot, and crowded, and people on the floor, and the announcements were like, Seats 14. Everyone's looking at what are they saying to us?
Yeah, it's funny how
it's all part of the joys of Los Angeles Airport.
Yeah, air travel has sort of become a bit like the whole cattle thing, hasn't it? It's not really. Yeah, it used to be like air travel was a fabulous, luxurious thing to do. Now it's like,
it's good and bad. It's good and bad. I mean, Los Angeles Airport, and for those people who know Los Airport, it's wonderful experience all to itself.
Bit run down.
Some bits. Some bits are wonderful and new, and some bits are a bit run down. And anyway.
Well, let's sign off and let's see everyone again next time.
All right, Stefan.
Okay.
Bye now.
See ya.
You've been listening to The Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.